Wallabies and Springboks, folks. Game 1 of the Rugby Championship. That wasn't supposed to be how that one went down. Not really given much of a chance, the Wallabies, to win over in South Africa, to win at Ellis Park, maybe Cape Town next week, if anything. But not only have they won, but they've got themselves a bonus point win, and they've come back from 22 points to nil, down 38 unanswered points from the Wallabies. That is quite incredible and justifies me rolling out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning for this one. Unbelievable. If you're a Wallabies fan who got up at an even worse time, well done you. You've been rewarded. Springboks fans, Sio Khaleesi said it in the post-match, unacceptable from them. Absolutely back to the drawing board. They get a chance next week to go again, but for now, holy moly, that is a heck of a result from the Wallabies. And knocks the Boks off number 1 in the world for the time being. We'll go through some of the key events and the stats. You guys can let us know your thoughts before I have a wee nap ahead of the All Blacks taking on the Pumas. It started pretty swimmingly for the South Africans. Kurtley Arendse, 2 minutes. 2 minutes on the left wing. Just big carries, getting over the advantage line. High tempo game from South Africa. Very, very ominous start. 7 points to nil. Even Marty Libok slotting it from the sideline. The conversion. Rassie talking about him hitting the rhino balls better than he does the old Gilberts. Seemed to be correct. The Aussies did win a line-out off South African ball on 7 minutes, which didn't seem like that much at the time because Malcolm Marx immediately won a penalty at the breakdown in return. But it would be perhaps a little bit of a foreshadowing thing about how badly the Springboks line-out would go. Because, the breakdown and the line-out really, and the penalty count, and the turnovers conceded. There's a lot of things that they didn't do well today. But the line-out certainly had a little bit of the shakes early, but it didn't cost them anything. As I said, Malcolm Marx, with his work at the breakdown, gets them the ball back anyway. And then Esterhuizen gets the second try for the Boks. 12 minutes on the clock. Wide ball, Creel. And then big Peter Steff with the offload. Support line for Andre Esterhuizen. It is a misconversion, but it is 15 points to nil. I should have mentioned there was a penalty to the Boks earlier as well. From the Marks. Win penalty, the breakdown, they opted for the 3. So they're 15 points to nil ahead. And then Khaleesi, who's been rampaging around the park at number 8, he gets one as well. McCright had won a turnover at the breakdown, which again is maybe a little bit of a foreshadowing thing. But the Aussies hadn't capitalised it on that one because they'd won a turnover in their own half, but then failed to kind of exit. South Africa won it back. And then you got Khaleesi, as I said, pick and go. After it looked like they might have been going to go over on the left wing, Khaleesi just rampages over with a wee pick and go. So 22 points to nil. This is looking like it's going to go 40, maybe 50 points. Maybe more. They're a point a minute easily, the Boks. But that's the final scoring. Around about the 20-minute mark. Australia got an attacking line-out in South Africa's 22 on 21 minutes. It wasn't straight. To be honest, their line-out was not fantastic either. The Aussies line-out finished at 77%, which would ordinarily be the worst of the two line-outs, but in this case, it's better than the South African one, which was at 68. So it looked like it was not going to be the Aussies' day. I even wrote a note, like, this is just not the Australians' day. Nothing has gone right. Even the stuff which is going right doesn't finish going right, but we'll get a bit of Tom right later. That does go right. 27 minutes, another Aussie chance in South Africa's half after a few South African penalties conceded at the breakdown. And again, this would become a bit of a theme. This time, they finally managed to finish it off and get some points. Dylan Peach, who ends up going off later for smashing his head into Sia Khaleesi's shoulder, which is not a bright thing to do, but Ikitau gets the offload from James O'Connor, who was, initially under a lot of line pressure, James O'Connor, but the experience seemed to pay off for that guy. He offloads it to Ikitau, he draws in Fussy, and then he's able to just give it to Peach out wide. Misconversion, but 22 points to 5. At least they're on the board, the Aussies. They've got a little bit of reward for their momentum. They're not going to get nilled. And then, as I said, Peach goes off because he puts in a upright tackle on Khaleesi. It's not foul play because there's no head contact according to the officials, but it's enough for Peach's jaw to be looking in a little bit of an uncomfortable position. So he goes off not long after scoring. South Africa go 10 phases in reply. Khaleesi, as I said, is kind of rampaging at the back. He's had a heap of carries in that first half. And Esterhuizen has a big carry as well, but he's just kind of in touch close to the Wallabies line. So that's how we finish at halftime. James O'Connor had kicked a long ball dead just before halftime. South Africa hadn't been able to capitalise on that. So it's a comfortable enough lead, 22-5. I mean, the run meters is 320 to 132. The possession's 58-42. The territory 60-40. The clean breaks is 7-3. The Aussies have had to make almost 90 tackles to the box 50. Ellis Park factor, surely in the second half, the Wallabies are going to run out of steam even more than they have. But penalty count is 6-3 against the box, which is maybe one of the things. Like Khaleesi's had 43 metres already. The Wallabies themselves have only had 132. Andre Esterhuizen had 63. McCright's won a couple of turnovers, which is, though, again, one of those things which comes into play, particularly in the second half. Second half, though, the Aussies start by switching up their props. That seemed to be a plan going into this one. Just let the props play 40 minutes. Again, altitude factor. So Wallaby scrum was under a fair bit of pressure, but not to the point where they were conceding penalties every scrum, which was at least one thing pleasing for them. Stole some more South African line-out ball. And, scored the first try of the half. Harry Wilson, 42 minutes. A wee pop ball from Angus Bell, which I don't think anyone really saw coming because people, they caught everyone seemingly by surprise. They checked that it wasn't a forward pass, backwards out of their hands. The captain goes over for the try. 22-12 is still a couple of scores, but you can feel there's a little bit of momentum potentially building for the Wallabies. And then for the box, errors, man. Errors. Like Marnie Libok on 47 minutes, and he has been spinning the ball. He's got a really nice pass on him, Marnie Libok. He unleashes the cross kick on 47 minutes, which had not been seen in the first half. He's probably lucky Tom Wright shelled it because he got to it before Edwill van der Merwe was able to get to it. But it was pleasing to see the box at least looking to kind of take the game back by the scruff of the neck from their point of view, because they had been lacking a bit of momentum. And then the South African scrum starts to get on top. Ikitau has to go off. He does come back on, but it means you got both halfbacks on, Nick White and Tate McDermott. So again, not ideal for the Wallabies. But then Tom Hooper comes up with a nice wee penalty one at the breakdown. So still able to hold on despite some disruptive changes for them. And South Africa get themselves a warning because more penalties conceded in their own red zone. Eben is captain at this point because Sia Khaleesi has gone off. Ben O'Keefe gives them a big talking to about how they've been conceding too many penalties down in the red zone. This was all from a dink through from Jorgensen. And Jorgensen, again, he's just one of those Aussie backs, man, looking dangerous. The Aussie outside backs in particular looked very, very dangerous. 57 minutes. The game had been a bit scrappy, but it becomes a one-score game when Marnie Libok fires one of those nice passes of his out wide, but Joseph Suali'i is able to pinch that one. Heck of a read from him, and he's got the gas to go over from the intercept. Despite the fact that Van der Merwe was chasing him down, he's still got the wheels, old Joseph, in the altitude conditions. So 22-19. How has this happened from 22-0? Surely not. And then the Aussies get the lead. Not too long later, my notes is just, oh my gosh. Because this wasn't in the script, folks, man. Passing it in their own half. Tom Wright, the defense from the box, it's poor, man. Wright is a dangerous player. If you haven't been watching Super Rugby, dude is proper fire. But he beats Moody and Creel. He puts the hammer down, and then Wilson with the support line goes over for his second. He injures himself doing it, but we're at 26-22 up for the Wallabies. Rusty is looking at the coaches around him in the box, wondering what's going on. Joe's getting on his radio. He's looking much more of a happy chappy than at the start. And then Jorgensen on 66 minutes. Jorgensen was talked up a lot after the Lions series, and pretty rightly so. James O'Connor gives him a wide pass. He's able to step Marnie Libok. They had to check that the O'Connor pass was not forward, but it is backwards out of their hands. 33-22. Can the Boks wrestle a bit of momentum back to get the game going? Well, Reinach has a wee line break, but they lose the ball forward. Tom Wright kicks the ball out on the full. It's a chance for South Africa. McWright wins a turnover, so the Boks are not either executing or the Aussies are executing on defence to take things away. South Africa did look to hit Australia on the break, and maybe if they catch the bloody ball, they get a chance to do it. Jesse Creel, as he's steaming down the left wing, pops a ball to his midfield partner, Esterhuizen, but he's not quite able to take it above his shoulder. It is pitched by Tom Wright. Tom Wright puts the steps on Damian Willemse. He's got the gas, and it's try time. It's bonus point time. Australia, 38 points to 22. They even got held up after a James O'Connor 50-22 before full time. So it could have been 40 points if they'd been able to convert that one last chance. Unbelievable comeback. 22-0 down to finish 38-22 against the number one side in the world, who you haven't beaten in South Africa since 2011, who you haven't won at Ellis Park since 1963, is just bonkers. Well done, Australia. That is a hell of a result. Breakdown for sure. Turnovers won was 6-3. South Africa, you're handling 17 turnovers conceded to 12. You line out 68%, like I mentioned, compared to the Wallabies 77. Even the tackle rate for South Africa is 80%, which is low, man. Low. 87% for the Wallabies, so defensively more sound. Penalty counts 10-4 against the Boks. The Boks still had the possession of the territory. They edged the run meters, 562 to 533, but in the second half, it's 401 to 242. So the Wallabies just finished the game stronger. At Ellis Park, where altitude is supposed to be one of the deciding factors. They had more defenders beaten, 24-22. Clean breaks was 13-10 to the Boks, but ultimately, the Wallabies are pretty bloody good value for their win. Missed tackles from the Boks. Libbok had 5, which is way too many. That guy's going to get a lot of stick after this game. But Reinach comes off the bench, none from 1. Moody from the bench, 1 from 2. Willemse from the bench, 1 from 2. So all these guys with pretty bloody low tackle numbers as well. Fraser McWright made 20 out of 22. He's the top tackler for the game. Eben made 16 from 17. That dude was still everywhere. But yeah, Wilson 68 meters, Jorgensen 98, Wright over 100. Wallabies get the job done. 38-22. Unbelievable. Well done, Australia. Next week's going to be fascinating because the Wallabies will have a bit of confidence, but even James Slipper mentioned it kind of post-match, like, we know we're going to play them again next week, so it's going to be absolutely fascinating to see what happens. You guys let us know your thoughts on the game. If any of you Wallabies fans want Wallabies gear, I will chuck the link to the Wallabies store down in the description. Get yourself some gear to celebrate. But yes, take care, folks. That is the first game of the Rugby Championship done. We wait the Pumas up against the All Blacks in a few hours' time. Take care. Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.